This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
Hello and welcome to The Hub. I'm Wang Guan in Beijing. China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi arrived in Papua New Guinea on Thursday. Economic cooperation, fishery, climate change, and deals under the Belt and Road Initiative were all on the agenda. Now, a very important question to ask. Is China's growing engagement with countries in the South Pacific a battle for influence with the West? Or does it open a new chapter of cooperation based not on condescension, not on attaching political strings, but on equality and mutual benefits? To discuss this further, I'm joined at this hour by Mr. Richard Yakam, Chief Trade Officer and Assistant Secretary at the Department of Commerce and Industry from Papua New Guinea. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on board.
Sure, sir. I want to begin by asking you about the Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi's visit to your country. You were there in the bilateral meetings. What do you think the significance of the Chinese Foreign Minister's visit to your country? What do you think has come out of the meetings?
Well, I think that answer was answered by Foreign Minister and Prime Minister himself. From the technical level, that visit signifies more importance, especially in the aspects of trade and investment between China and the Pacific, especially Papua New Guinea, for that matter. For Papua New Guinea, we see the Chinese market as very big market with a bigger population. If we can capture, Papua New Guinea can capture at least 1 or 0.5% of the market, that's very good, very big beneficial for a country like Papua New Guinea, which is very small. And that's important when the discussions on trade and investment between Chinese Foreign Minister and the Papua New Guinea Foreign Minister, which the discussions were centered more on trade and investment and how the two countries can advance the relationship, especially in the aspects of trade and investment between the two countries. That's very, very important for Papua New Guinea, for a small developing country like Papua New Guinea, to look at a bigger market like China, the Chinese market, and the Chinese investment in the country. In those aspects, that the visit of the Chinese Foreign Minister to the region and especially to Papua New Guinea, it brought more confidence and strengthened the economic and trade relations between the two countries to the next level, and especially in some of the discussions that the two ministers had, especially to strengthen and to explore the ongoing discussions on the free trade agreement between the two countries. It's very, very important.
That's what I'm going to ask you, sir, the free trade agreement. There have been discussions on that. What are the sticking points? What are the progress?
Especially the delay has been on the part of Papua New Guinea. So when the initial the leaders, when they agreed for the two countries to explore the possibilities of having a free trade agreement within the two countries, what we did at the initial stages were to do some feasibility studies on the part of Papua New Guinea, especially. That feasibility study is very, very important for Papua New Guinea because we need to look at the possible sectors that we can have discussions with our Chinese counterparts, look at the policy space, especially in which sectors that we need to prioritize, which sectors we need to open up to the Chinese investors or for Chinese imports, and so forth. That advantages and disadvantages, and especially the welfare losses, if there's any, or if there's an income loss through the reduction of tariffs or so. And so we did that. We have completed that. The Minister for Foreign Affairs has endorsed the completion of the study. And so now we are moving into the joint feasibility study between the two countries. So we are discussing the terms of reference and the content itself on the joint study. So we hope to complete that one within a month or so, 2 months, probably 3 months, and then probably take on the start looking at the discussions on the free trade agreement itself.
You talk about the time frame within which you hope the free trade deal can be concluded. You said 2 months, 3 months?
It's not a free trade deal. What I was referring to, the joint feasibility study we are now in discussion. The free trade deal itself, it does not take 3 months. It takes probably some years, like the Chinese-Australian free trade agreement negotiations took more than 10 years. So we are looking some periods of time, but the actual study itself might take some.
Right. Fair enough. I mean, to some of our viewers who are not extremely familiar with Papua New Guinea and what the country has to offer, here's a quick reminder. Papua New Guinea has become the largest exporter to China in the region, among other things. Papua New Guinea actually exported 80% of goods and services to China among all the South Pacific Island countries, which is phenomenal. How do you foresee the trade relations to grow even further? And what really tangible benefits do you think this trading ties can bring to the people of Papua New Guinea?
Well, significantly, in like other countries, trade is very, very important. And like you said, Chinese is a very important market to Papua New Guinea. We have the trade balance is in favor of Papua New Guinea. We intend to build on that. But at the same time, the imports of industrial goods and the imports from China are also coming in. But we're also trying to get more Chinese investment in the country so that the Chinese companies themselves can export back to China, especially in the aspects of downstream processing some of the raw materials that we have in the country, especially in the agriculture sector, forestry and fisheries sectors. Attract more Chinese investment, they process it here and they export back to China. But we also are mindful of the cost of doing business here in the country, especially in the unit cost of production and the competitiveness of those products in the Chinese market and here in PNG. But the bigger picture we are looking at is to capture the Chinese market, at least for a smaller country, a smaller percentage would be very beneficial to the country.
Now, Officer Yakam, a major concern of many Western countries is that they assume that if China were to succeed in its engagement with countries, including Papua New Guinea economically, that engagement will sooner or later evolve into building military bases or projecting China's military power in the region, and therefore China would become, as they put it, a threat to regional stability. Do you look at that way too?
Probably because I'm a trade officer, I don't look at that aspect of the military or security issue because my discussion with my colleagues from the Chinese Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade officials in China are more focused on trade and investment and how the two countries can benefit from such an arrangement between the two countries. The aspects of military, well, in some aspects they come in, but I don't see more as a more development partner, more trade and investment partner in that aspect from a trade and economic perspective. That's personally how I see it more than a security issue or a political issue for that matter.
Are discussions of building a military base, for example, in Papua New Guinea discussed at all during the Chinese Foreign Minister visit meetings in your country?
I think that was made very clear during the press conference by the Minister for Foreign Affairs and International Trade, Soraya himself. There was no discussion on security or military for that matter during the Chinese Foreign Minister's visit. The discussions were more centered on trade and investment issues. So the security issue has never been discussed during the bilateral meetings or meeting with the Prime Minister himself. Also, I don't think such security issues were discussed with other Pacific Island country members.
Papua New Guinea established diplomatic relations with People's Republic of China as early as 1976, soon after it gained independence from Australia. We know that Australia is a very important partner of Papua New Guinea, and China is having a growing partnership with your country. How do you see this trilateral relations evolving, especially considering that China and Australia don't have the best relations right now?
For Papua New Guinea, the relationship between Australia, China or US or the EU, which we do have trade agreements which are very, very important partners to Papua New Guinea. The Papua New Guinean foreign policy is enemies to none, friends to all, and that's our foreign policy, and we stand on that principle. And so, even within the context of trade and investment relationship, we look at a win-win situation where we try to maintain a balance with our trading partners, our development partners, and our friends on the principle of friends to all, enemies to none.
Chief Trade Officer Richard Yakam from Papua New Guinea, thank you so much for your time today, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on this program.
That was Richard Yakam, Chief Trade Officer and Assistant Secretary at the Department of Commerce and Industry from Papua New Guinea. Thank you very much, sir, for your insights.
Facing the unknown is always difficult. In a world in turmoil, it's easy to lose orientation. But when the storms come, we have to see the possibilities, reinvent, find new opportunities, discover a path forward. CGTN, see the difference. Images may appear to be identical, but looks can be deceiving. The difference is not always obvious. It has to be discovered. There are always different sides to a story. We put the focus on the details. To see more, to understand better. CGTN. See the difference.
Now, after hearing from a senior policymaker, let's also hear from the business community to explore more on China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi's visit to South Pacific. Joining us next is Desmond Yaninen, President of the Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Council of Papua New Guinea, as well as the founder of financial services firm Pacifund. Mr. Yaninen, welcome to the Hub on CGTN.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Mr. Yaninen, as an entrepreneur, as a business person, how do you feel about Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi's visit and the many initiatives he has discussed with your country's counterparts in Papua New Guinea? How do you feel about all this?
Well, Papua New Guinea is a third world nation. We are resource rich, and we'd like to see the best value for the resources that we own. And we thank the Chinese Foreign Minister for taking an interest in Papua New Guinea. So certainly it's really important for Papua New Guinea to get the best for its resources out there in the global market. And so having China taking an interest in Papua New Guinea is really, really important. It's positive for China to take an interest in Papua New Guinea and its natural resources and helping us to get the best price that we can in the global market.
So, Mr. Yaninen, you talk about the natural resources of your country. In fact, Papua New Guinea is natural resources rich, as we all know, but many would argue that it is tempting to think it that way. And also for Papua New Guinea itself, it could fall into what many describe as a resource curse. How do you expect China as an economic partner to come into all this and work with Papua New Guinea, not only to tap into its rich natural resources, but really to have a equitable, cooperative partnership?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. And the resource curse sort of happens when there is too much focus of the government into one sector. So primarily it's usually the extractive sector, and then you start to neglect and ignore other sectors of the economy. So apart from the extractive sector, where we have things like oil, gas, nickel, that sort of thing, Papua New Guinea is also rich in agricultural resources. We have an abundance of cocoa, coffee, vanilla, and these sorts of things. And so we'd also like to look at balancing that and not just heavily focusing on one sector of our economy. And so, to that extent, it'll be really important when we're looking at the trade relationships in terms of how much Papua New Guinea exports to China as opposed to what we import from China. And I guess coming from a small business perspective, we've got to look at how we can, empower the small business owners of this country. And the primary, one of the largest areas of focus for small business owners in Papua New Guinea is in the retail space. And much of what is retail here in Papua New Guinea are products that are manufactured in China. And so if we can strike a balance with the imports and ensure that there is a consistent supply of quality products from China, which our small businesses can then retail to the final consumers, that'll really work for us here in Papua New Guinea, and I guess that could be a win-win for both nations. So I'd like to emphasize on empowering our small businesses by establishing, supply relationships with China to supply the small businesses who will then retail to the consumer.
Can you give us some specific examples where the small and medium-sized enterprises in Papua New Guinea have successfully worked with their Chinese counterparts in delivering services and products to global consumers?
Okay, so in this case, currently Papua New Guineans, the majority of businesses here in Papua New Guinea only focus on the Papua New Guinean market, so importing from China and retailing here in the Papua New Guinean market. There are a number of initiatives, however, to get Papua New Guineans to prepare products for export for sale to global market. The unfortunate thing is that there is currently not a system in place whereby Papua New Guineans can get paid for transactions to global markets. So one of the things that Papua New Guinea suffers from is because we rank very lowly in a anti-money laundering index and a corruption index. We're not able to have access to things like a payment gateway. For example, for PayPal transactions, Papua New Guineans can only make payments using PayPal, but they can't receive payments. So that's why it is very difficult for Papua New Guineans to engage in online retail activity because they cannot sell to the rest of the world. And it's because of the restrictions that we have placed on our country.
We know there are different voices concerning Papua New Guinea's partnership with China. For example, the visit of China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi has been criticized by the former Papua New Guinea Prime Minister Peter O'Neill, who's also, as far as I know, running for office again. He lashed out at the cooperative agreement, saying that there shouldn't be any protocol, any agreements at all before the next election. Why do you think he said what he said?
I think the reason why he said what he said is because currently the government that is ruling Papua New Guinea is sort of like a caretaker government. It's not a full government because the nation is in elections now. And so you don't have the full complement of the government that's running the country. And you almost have a caretaker prime minister and a caretaker government. So I guess that's the reason why he issued that statement. It was more a timing issue. And I don't think it had anything to do with the contracts or the projects and the agreements that were signed. It was more around the timing because we have a caretaker government in place.
But the current Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea, James Marape, warned the opposition not to play politics with China, with Papua New Guinea's partnership with China. Is the opposition playing politics because of, or partly because of pressures from Australia, America, and the West?
I doubt that Australia, America, and the West is influencing the opposition leaders' statements. What I think is the real issue here would be the timing of the visit. And like I said, because we have something like a caretaker government in place, any agreements that would be signed at this period might be seen as influencing voters to vote for the current prime minister, and which is why the former prime minister has raised concerns. And I think that's only where it's coming from. I don't think it has anything to do with other countries trying to influence the Papua New Guinea-Sino relationships. I just think that it's a timing issue.
There has been, concerns, criticisms from the West on China's engagement with Pacific Island countries, and Papua New Guinea being one of the largest Pacific Island countries in size in the area is the focus of attention of many Western commentators.
Yes, so there is no denying that that is an issue. I think that is global geopolitics, and all countries want to protect their borders. I mean, we see what's happening right now in Russia, Ukraine. So you see how Russia is reacting to NATO using Ukraine to move closer to its borders. And so that's global geopolitics. And I think that would be a reason why countries are nervous. But as far as smaller Pacific Island nations are concerned, we just want a better deal for our people. We want to improve the living standards of our people. We're all third world nations, and we really want the best for our people. And whichever partner is willing to come down and talk to us and give us a good deal is not so much a good deal in terms of what we want. We're looking at trading partnerships and how we can give the best value services to our people.
So what would be the detrimental impacts of intensifying geopolitical maneuvering, rivalry between China and the United States for countries like Papua New Guinea and for businesses like yours and those of your friends?
So in terms of the detrimental impacts, one of the biggest issues that we have here in Papua New Guinea is access to foreign currency. And the primary foreign currency that we need is US dollars. So we could see a pullback of investment into Papua New Guinea, and a pullback of investment into Papua New Guinea from foreign partners would actually weaken our currency, and it would increase the cost of living for Papua New Guineans. So the weaker our currency gets, the more expensive it would be to purchase basic items from the shop, and we would basically see an increase in inflation. So as much as possible, Papua New Guinea wants to encourage investment into our country, and by doing that, it strengthens our currency and it strengthens our economy and helps us to maintain, if not improve, the status quo. So I guess that's the biggest concern for us now is foreign investment not coming to Papua New Guinea, and as a result, we have a weakening in our currency, and we see an increase in inflation, which would make the standard of living very difficult for our people. So we'd like to encourage as much foreign investment as possible, but then when you have a tussle between the West and China, that could hurt us.
Yeah, I mean, that is a very important perspective. The currency, the living standards, the purchasing power. I'm not sure if the politicians in Washington or elsewhere are paying attention to those things that are really impacting lives, businesses in Papua New Guinea and the like. And then how would you describe China as an economic and investment partner?
What I'd like to see going forward, China is one of the largest consumers in the world, and we have a rich basket of natural resources that we could offer to China. So I guess I'd like to see Papua New Guinea improve its trading relationship with China and look at how best we can supply China its demand for what we produce here in Papua New Guinea, and also look at how we can improve imports from China. And I guess one of the issues that we have here in Papua New Guinea is, I'm going to come back to foreign currency. And we have, because of the lack of foreign currency, we're not able to make our payments to China on time. And so that's, I guess that's a concern for us. Imports into Papua New Guinea from China are delayed. And so if we could have, I guess, some understanding with Chinese suppliers as to the delays that affect us because we don't have an adequate supply of foreign currency. But apart from that, we recognize China as one of the largest consumers in the world, and would like to help to meet some of that demand from our natural resources.
Sir, you're running for election at the National Parliament next month. What initiatives and measures do you propose to perhaps bring China, Papua New Guinea economic cooperation to the next level?
So first of all, it's going to be inward looking. So I'm looking at my people, and I'd like to see how we can improve the standard of living for our people. So we recognize the fact that we have natural resources, we have a large and young population that are willing to work. They need to be skilled up. So if we can continue to look at trade initiatives, things like scholarships as well. China has historically provided a lot of scholarships to our people. Currently, 80% of school leavers that finish high school and seniors, their higher education, they don't have opportunities to continue on to university, to colleges. So that's really something that I'd like to look at. And if China can really assist Papua New Guinea in providing more scholarships and access to Chinese universities. And I guess Papua New Guinean students that go to study in China, I have the advantage of learning the Chinese language, integrating with the culture. And we certainly have a lot of Papua New Guinean leaders today who were educated in China and benefited from the Chinese scholarship program. So that's one of the things that I'd like to see, I guess, expanded and enhanced, the Chinese scholarships that are offered to Papua New Guinea students. The second thing I'd like to look at is how Chinese suppliers can partner directly Papua New Guinean small businesses to help to supply them and help them to retail quality products to our people. And in addition to that, we also want to look at, I guess, human resource and capacity building. So if we can have Papua New Guinean professionals actually having exchange agreements to work in China and be exposed to China's way of doing business, and that would be really enriching for Papua New Guinean professionals, both in government and in the private sector. In the past, there were some meetings and conversations that I was part of. There's a major Chinese online business called DH Gate, and DH Gate was looking at setting up, I guess, something like a distribution hub in Papua New Guinea. So Chinese made, Chinese supplied products sold online through DH Gate, having a distribution hub in Papua New Guinea from which to supply local demand. And that's something that I thought would be really helpful. And basically, all I'm after is raising the standard of living for the people of Papua New Guinea. And we do that by providing them business opportunities where they can become resellers of Chinese quality products, and also by providing them, I guess, access to education through Chinese scholarships.
All right, Desmond Yaninen, the president of the Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Council of Papua New Guinea, as well as the founder of financial services firm Pacifund. Mr. Yaninen, thank you so much for joining us at this hour.
Thanks for having me.
That will do it for this edition of The Hub on CGTN. I'm Wang Guan in Beijing. Thank you so much for watching.